Hello! Today I want to talk about depersonalization and derealization, which is related to phobias. And this type of dissociative issue is usually just situational. So I'm just talking about when you face a certain situation and you dissociate, but generally during day-to-day life you're not really dissociated unless you come into contact with a phobia. So these types of situations are not really referred to as dissociative conditions or disorders because you kind of know it's situational and it's not caused by like something else or a long-term condition. It's just anxiety that is triggered by certain situations or phobias. Obviously the symptoms is the reaction when you come in contact with the phobia. So you get anxiety, you get all the anxiety symptoms, like heart palpitations and sweating, trembling, physical symptoms, but you can also experience like depersonalization and stuff. You tend to avoid these types of situations as well, and you'll kind of go out of your way not to encounter that. So the types of phobias can be objects, things like spiders, animals, like insects, different types, things like that. Places as well, so like common ones, the supermarket. And I think the supermarket is quite a triggering thing for anxiety because it's like a public place, but it's like the fluorescent lights as well. And then also you're kind of trapped because you can't really escape once you're in there. And also social anxiety is a phobia as well, so fear of social situations, crowds, public speaking, meeting new people. You can feel dissociated when you're face to face with that. And with social anxiety as well, you tend to isolate yourself and basically it's just avoidance of the phobia. So rather than avoid going to the supermarket or travelling in a car or flying via airplane, you'll just avoid people. So it's the same type of thing as the phobia. The treatment for phobias is kind of depending on the severity of it, but I've found the most effective treatment for phobias is gradual graded exposure. So you basically take that phobia and break it down in a very small and manageable situations where you can gradually work your way up to exposing yourself to it fully. So obviously it's not about like directly facing it head on because that can trigger a lot of anxiety. Often then you kind of have another negative association with it if you've had a panic attack, especially when you've been in that situation. So the graded exposure is a really gentle way. It's like a CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy approach. And you'll basically say, for example, if it was being in a car. So first you would watch a video of someone in a car, and then you would look at cars going in the street. Then you would sit in a car without it moving and get back out. Then perhaps you would go for a 5-minute drive, and then a 10-minute drive, and then an hour drive, and you would do this repeatedly until each stage you didn't feel anxiety or dissociated when you were in that situation, and then eventually you can kind of be comfortable with doing that exposure therapy. Another way is reframing the situation and visualization. So especially if you've had a traumatic event attached to that phobia, or if not, you can kind of be in a safe situation and be guided through a visualization, or even create one of your own where you're basically visualizing being in that situation and you've got control because you can imagine what will happen. For example, if it is driving in a car, the fear is that you'll have an accident, but in the visualization you can kind of envision like a safe journey and you getting out at the end and being okay. So I think a lot of people experience dissociation when they have phobias and anxiety surrounded by that, but they don't really see it as a chronic dissociative condition because it's just a symptom of the anxiety. You know, if you had heart palpitations every time you went to a certain place, you wouldn't then think, I have a heart palpitation condition or like a heart problem. It's just because you know you're in that situation. So, you know, once you've overcome that phobia, then things will get better. Some people have many different phobias, and that can be seen as general anxiety, but you've kind of got to look at what triggers the anxiety, what situations make you feel that way, and deal with it one at a time. Deal with the most difficult first, but deal with it in very small, manageable chunks as well. So eventually you've kind of got this plan where you want to overcome each phobia, or at least get to a point where you're able to manage being in that situation without having dissociative issues. Because the dissociation is just your brain detaching yourself from the situation in order to avoid emotional turmoil. But like, ironically, that can bring on anxiety in itself. So the best thing to do is just kind of adapt to it, and then it should dissipate over time. So yeah, I hope this video helps, and if you've got any questions, just leave them down below. Thank you for watching.